Absolute banger up at the top of UFC Vegas 34. As always, one half your co-hosting team, Craig Allen. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Craig Allen FNP. Bobbing and weaving to my left, to your right, Matt Allen FNP on the respective socials. And newsflash, if you haven't checked out our second channel, 15-minute card breaks. We're opening sports cards. We're talking all sports. We're having a good time. It's our second passion. Check it out. Link below down in the description. Matt, let's get into the nuts and bolts and the crux of our entire existence. We got a big time preview of a fight between top 10 ranked middleweights, Jared Cannonier, Kelvin Gastelum, both guys coming off of decision losses to Robert Whittaker. And not every decision loss is created equal, but for Jared Cannonier, this is a guy that struggled with fights going the distance. He is an excellent finisher, and he's fought a very high-level competition. His statement win, well, that was the win before he fought Robert Whittaker. He beat the hometown guy in Jack Hermanson, and he looked amazing in that fight. And for Kelvin Gastelum, 1-4 in his last 5. Now, in that win against Ian Heinisch, looked amazing. It looked like vintage Kelvin Gastelum, the guy you knew and loved from The Ultimate Fighter, who could mix in the wrestling with the striking, who wasn't just a short-range specialist out of that southpaw stance in those phone booth boxing combination type situations. So in this fight, Gastelum has all of those different weapons, and he has youth on his side coming in here at only 29 to Jared Cannonier's 37. Now, I don't know if Jared Cannonier walks into the cage with crystals, so we'll see how that plays out for him. But stylistically, it's a weird fight to try and figure out.
So this is how old Kelvin Gastelum's 29 is. Ready? Like when he sits down, he goes... That's how old Kelvin Gastelum is for a 29-year-old. Because again, you can't always judge fighters just by how old they are. You have to judge them by how many miles that I guess they've taken inside the cage. Craig and I were talking about just like, hey, great chins and great things that we know MMA fighters for. You know why people like Kelvin Gastelum? You know why he's so popular? Because he gets into crazy fights. You know how he gets into crazy fights? Because he eats a lot of head kicks and overhands. I know Kelvin Gastelum has a really good chin because I've seen him be able to eat an insane amount of damage throughout his career. I'm worried that this fight might be that one where he goes a little bit too far. Because the weird thing about Gastelum, and the other thing I have to bring up, and I'm going to sound very Robin Black, and I understand I've been all over the place. Robin Black said something after the Robert Whittaker fight that you never want to hear a fighter say. I don't know if you caught this, but he was in the bus, and he was like borderline tears with Rafael Cordero. He was like, that's the first time I've ever been in there with a guy who, like, I never felt like I could be as good as him. You never want to hear an MMA fighter say that. Like, when Charles Barkley played against Michael Jordan in the finals and had, like, a 35-point triple-double, but Jordan had 50 points, Charles Barkley was like, that's the first time in my prime I ever felt like someone else was better than me, and Jordan went on to win the next 2 games in that series. I do think that Kelvin Gastelum has to believe in himself before I believe in Kelvin Gastelum. I understand that sounds kind of out there, but it really is the truth. Like, if Kelvin Gastelum mentally is 100% on, and he's the tricky southpaw, he's got arguably the best hand speed in the division. I don't think he's got the top tier power that a lot of people say he does, but I do think his hand speed goes a long way when you do talk about Kelvin Gastelum's power. The weird thing about this fight, though, is that Jared Cannonier broke his arm early on against Robert Whittaker, and I don't think we ever were really able to see what 100% Jared Cannonier was able to do against a guy like Robert Whittaker. I saw what Kelvin Gastelum was able to do against Whittaker, and his problem was speed. Well, that was the thing I thought he had the edge over everybody in, and that was the thing about Kelvin Gastelum. I never felt like he was on a massive career decline until his last fight. Even though he lost to Robert Whittaker, and listen, I think Robert Whittaker is 1B probably for best fighter in the middleweight division. Like, him and Izzy are probably head and shoulders above everybody else right now. But in that fight, the speed was an issue for him. So I don't know if coming into this fight, I still think he'll be the faster fighter than Jared Cannonier, but my issue is going to be if he is in the pocket and if he is exchanging punches with Jared Cannonier. 4 punches from Kelvin Gastelum equal 1 punch from Jared Cannonier. And I really do think Cannonier has that kind of fight-ending power. I don't think he has the technique that a Robert Whittaker does. He doesn't have the submission game that a Jack Hermanson does. Like, his game might not be as pretty as some of those other guys that Kelvin Gastelum has lost to in the past, but he has that one thing that can erase all those other mistakes and all those other skill sets. He does have that kind of power, and he's got that power on the inside. Jared Cannonier's weird with his power. Like, at range, look at the David Branch fight. He counters him off an inside kick. It was like Poirier against Gaethje. This perfect, fully extended right hand. It's one of those punches you kind of expect to knock out somebody when it lands.
I think there's a lot of parallels between that fight and this fight.
And then you look at the Hermanson fight. He's defending takedowns. He's just being good defensively. But then once he is able to land that uppercut on the inside, it's immediately over for Hermansson. And the thing that I keep on coming back to in this fight is Kelvin Gastelum could win 4.5 rounds in this fight and still find a way to lose it by eating a big shot from Cannonier. I don't know if Cannonier can go out there and win the rounds consistently like Kelvin Gastelum can, but my issue keeps on coming down to the hitability of Kelvin Gastelum. I think your durability, it's kind of like Dwayne Casey said, you gotta pound the rock. At a certain point, that rock's really durable, but every time you hit it, it's gonna chip away, become more brittle, and I don't think Jared Cannonier is the type of guy you want to be testing your chin against when you're 1-4 in your last 5.
Tell us more, Doris Burke. Matt, when I look at this fight, if you want to play MMA math, Jared Cannonier wins this fight 10 times out of 10. He beat Hermansson, Gastelum lost to Hermansson. Cannonier looked great against Hermansson, Gastelum looked lost. I think I put...
You're too hard on that performance, I think.
I mean, it was so quick, and it was it was a weird fight, and I'm going to leave it there. But the things that worry me, Gastelum, if he can be offensive with his takedowns, yes, he hits at a 37% clip so far in the UFC. But if you look at it for Cannonier, 54% takedown defense. So you say, Craig, okay, well, who has taken down Jared Cannonier? I will let you know. Through his entire run in the UFC, Iwan Kutsalaba took him down 6 times, but that was a fight of the night.
Beat him up on the feet, though.
And Cannonier beat him up on the feet. Glover Teixeira took him down 3 times, beat him by decision. Glover's Glover, up a weight class. Jan Blachowicz took him down 4 times. Okay, but what did he do to Israel Adesanya up there? And then you kind of get into the weeds. It's a little weird. David Branch took him down 3 times, but he knocked him out.
But this is the difference between him at light heavyweight, and him at middleweight. Well, I remember...
You remember making my own point for me?
No. Kama Worthy was a fighter that we used to bring up a lot because, and again, now he started getting stopped at 155, so the point isn't still as good as it once was, but he was a fighter that you really had to separate into 2 guys by weight classes, and I just feel like Cannonier is one of those guys.
Which is where I was going with everything I was saying, but yeah, with Cannonier, once you start moving down, you talk about point of diminishing returns, well, it's kind of the opposite. And again, the guys that are taking him down, I know David Branch, his second UFC run was bad. Even his first UFC run wasn't that good. Gerald Harris was able to negate 2 of the fence grabs and throw him down and knock him out. But part and parcel of what's good about David Branch's game, long-range striker, wizard on the ground, double weight champ over with World Series of Fighting for what it was worth. Now, he got a main event against Luke Rockhold. That was weird. But everything that he's good at, Jared Cannonier was able to somewhat negate and finish him in that one. Same thing with Jack Hermansson. For Kelvin Gastelum, can he wrestle in this one? Can he utilize his short-range weapons against a guy like Jared Cannonier? We're going to find that one out. If you do have a look at the odds for this fight, Cannonier is the favorite. He opened at -240s and -158. Those odds took a big jump last week in the middle of the week or so. They've kind of moved a little bit today too. Gastelum opened at +195. He's a +131 right now. And Matt, we like to have fun with it. Check it out over in the YouTube community tab. We threw it out there. Out of 621 total votes, 57% Cannonier, 43% for Gastelum. Some of the top comments out there, the Blue Dash says this is a really weird fight to call. I can see Gastelum just outpointing him through all rounds, or Cannonier being the first man to knock out Gastelum.
I can see it.
The next one, you've got myself saying going to be tough for Kelvin to fight from the outside when Jared has a 6-inch reach advantage. Kelvin gets caught coming in and Jared finishes this by knockout. Artem MMA analysis says close fight. Can't wait to see your boys or you boys picks. And
you're part of the video now.
We've got Viljami, Namanen. Don't know what everybody's seeing on Gastelum. So there's that too. When I look at this fight, I do have a hard time because, again, Gastelum was able to out-wrestle Ian Heinisch, who's a good wrestler, which screws around with me because statistically Jared Cannonier is not a good wrestler, but I know he's been better at middleweight. Can Cannonier last? That's all the question that I really have. The broken arm in Whitaker kind of freaks me out a little bit again. Because you talk about it, how long ago was that fight? 9 months ago? Victoria Leonardo broke her arm at the start of the year and then re-broke it against Melissa Gatto of all people. And that was the end of the fight. The doctor came in between the second and third. Nope, can't do it anymore. I have a lot of question marks about Cannonier that I can't be confident enough to go, okay, I'm laying the hammer down on Cannonier. I like Cannonier in this fight, but those are the things that scare me here.
So the issue is that Kelvin Gastelum's position where he's going to be able to get the most done is going to be the most dangerous position for him to be in. Because again, Jared Cannonier not only has the reach advantage, so in those longer ranges, And the other thing is, another guy's going to throw a lot of kicks. This is going to be one of the more boxing-heavy main events that you'll see probably since Max Holloway fought Calvin Kattar.
When Rob Font fought Cody Garbrandt.
There you go, another good example. I do think Jared Cannonier, though, with those leg kicks that we saw in the Anderson Silva fight, he will be able to chip away a little bit at Kelvin Gastelum at the long range, and that's going to make Gastelum start to at least be a little bit more tentative when he rushes in. Or, sorry, the complete opposite way. He's going to start rushing into the gap a lot more because he's not going to want to get eaten up on the outside, and I do think that's where it's the most dangerous when you're fighting a guy like Cannonier. And for Cannonier, like, this is the best time to fight Kelvin Gastelum for 25 minutes. You're never going to catch him a better part in his career. He doesn't really believe in himself right now, and he's 1-4 in his last 5. And if
He
you
didn't believe in himself after a career-altering loss.
Is it career-altering when you lose 3 in a row, and then the guy you lose to is the former champion was better than the 3 guys? Like, not really. My issue is Kelvin Gastelum's never been at the lowest point in his career, though. And if he is able to beat Jared Cannonier, they could swing this all around, and we start forgetting about a lot of those losses on his record. The issue is that he is 1-4 in his last 5, and even I like to look at some of the things Kelvin Gastelum has done in the past and try to project that onto the future, but just look, like, what have you done for me lately? It hasn't been that good. Ian Heinisch isn't really a top tier fighter, I don't believe, anymore. Look what Nasruddin Imavov was able to do to him. So although it was a good win for Gastelum, I don't look at that as like, wow, that really breaks your losing streak as a top tier fighter. So for me, I'll pick Jared Cannonier, but this should be a fun fight for as long as it lasts.
Both of us going with the Killa Gorilla representing... Really, it's Arizona now, but by way of Alaska. I mean, listen, not a lot of pro athletes representing a lot, like the Scott Gomez's of the world.
Kurt Schilling?
Kurt Schilling. There's a lot of, there's names up there, but really love to see it, and a great fight. Make sure you check out Question Mark Kicks. It's 2 hours before the prelims. On Saturday, we offer up our final picks and predictions for this entire card. Any fights that are added, we'll be adding them throughout the week. I know this is a little bit later of a drop, but hey, if you missed last week, it was a great one. 7-2, 6-3 with the PFL and Bellator main card picks. And if you are so inclined, give us a follow. We'd really appreciate it, not just here, because listen, there's over 50% of you that aren't subscribed. You check in every week, you hang out with the boys, you're tossing a like, hit the button, hit the bell. Then at least you know when we go live. And if you really like us talking and you want to hear us talk about some other sports, we do have 15-minute card breaks. We say let's tear the cover off. We're opening cards, we're talking about sports, and we have a lot of fun with it. And it's a lot of fun with everybody in the comments section. So we really do appreciate the support. Hopefully you enjoyed the videos. Comment below with your picks, your predictions, and what you like on this card. We'll catch you on Saturday. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, and as we always say, let's get into it.